how to create a relationship that's so deep, so wildly alive, and so effing real, it heals you. We see and we witness a lot of people that just are settling for breadcrumbs in relationships. Like, we believe that relationships should be extraordinary and passionate and alive.
If you could master the masculine and feminine dynamics, what you have is not just safety in a relationship, because if you have safety in a relationship but no polarity, you have a but if you have polarity and passion in a relationship but no safety, it's chaos, it's bound to destroy you, right? You need both. You need a trauma-informed relationship that has. What are the three things that create a space for healing in your relationship? And that's the one place that lights you up the most in life. If we can make a commitment in advance to say, I am so for you, if you don't feel safe in something, I will help you heal that in this relationship. And this is something that's so important. Everything that is truly yours will align itself. And no one wins in fear. No one does. Unless you really need it. Like, there's two types of fear. Fear that keeps you alive and fear that keeps you from living. The masculine and feminine dynamic of like magnetism, of intimacy. Without safety, it's chaos and adventure, but it eventually hurts people. But if you have safety without polarity, do you see couples as roommates or as friends? Without passion, without seeing each other as like, dude, I freaking want you, right?
But I did this, and I did the dishes, and I made the dinner, and I cleaned the house, and I did all these things, but men get more admiration outside of the home than they do within the home.
100%.
Just imagine if
I want a real relationship. I don't want a fake one. I don't want to check the boxes off. I want to freaking live. I want an extraordinary relationship. And the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is just a little extra. That word extra, that's it. I know we commit to that, and I just invite everybody to. So maybe it's time to get real. Maybe it's time to allow yourself to get deep within yourself. What's up? Welcome back to Love Uncensored. My name is Henry Amar.
And my name is Terrin Amar.
Today's topic is going to be fun because it encompasses so many different things.
So many. So our episode topic today is how to create a relationship that's so deep, so wildly alive, and so effing real, it heals you.
Yeah, and so we're driving here talking about, these episodes we want to film and record, and you just went on this like passionate rampage rant about what you want to say. So I'm going to give you the mic. You just run with whatever you want to say.
Well, I love our car conversations because what we want to talk about today is, we see so many relationships out on social media or podcasts and whatnot, and they talk about how relationships are so hard or just difficult and that relationships are supposed to be war. And we see and we witness a lot of people that just are settling for breadcrumbs in relationships. And we've experienced both the heaven and the hell before. And that's what we really want to share today is being able to implement these principles that we're going to talk about today is what creates that connection, that passion, that extraordinary relationship. Like, we believe that relationships should be extraordinary and passionate and alive. And also the fact that sometimes people think, oh, well, I'm not perfect enough to be in a relationship. I'm not healed enough to be in a relationship. I'm not enough, or whatever that might be, to be in a relationship, which it's not true.
Right.
It's just these beliefs that we have. So anyway, we have this passionate topic today.
Absolutely. So here's the thing, like, just starting off right off the bat, if you're here, you're listening, if you're single or if you're in a relationship, like, this is for you. We believe it's possible. We know it's possible. We've been through the hell in relationships, as Terrin said. We've been through very depolarized relationships that were friendships, and relationships where, you're in a relationship that feels like it's like
tense and gripping.
All
and
the
just,
things, I want to say things. There's so many layers to relationships, and relationships are supposed to be the safest, the best, the most uplifting places. But so many people find more admiration outside of the home than inside of the home. Mm-hmm. So many people can't be honest inside of their home more than they can with people outside of their home. So many people don't feel alive inside of their home or in their relationship, and not even a home if you're single, right? Even within yourself, than they do outside of their home. And so many people aren't even real. Like, you can't even A, be authentic in being real, and B, you can't even speak the truth because you're scared of what the other person is going to say, or you speak so much truth without love that you just regulate everybody in the freaking room, right? And so there has to be a sense of the relationship you carry within yourself and with other people. And I'm going to say with yourself in this episode too, because it has to be deep, because there's no connection without depth. Right? It has to be authentic and real, and it has to be alive rather than robotically checking off the boxes. How many relationships just go, you wake up in the morning and you do whatever you do, or you go on a date, or you're trying to date in the world, and you're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Yeah. And it's really cool because a lot of people think that relationships are about finding the perfect person, where in reality, that's not the case. It's like, if you listen to the Gottmans, they talk about how compatibility really doesn't matter. It's how do you repair? How do you communicate? If there is a rupture, how do you come back together? And knowing that relationships are just, even in dating, and this is so much my story of, they're messy, they're beautiful, they're expanding. And when you allow it to expand you, and as you expand your capacity to love, it expands every other area of your life. And I think that's really what even our relationship did. Like, we both were on our healing journey. We both had done so much work. Then when we met, it just magnified and expedited the healing process, because we were able to heal together in a lot of different ways. We gave each other disconfirming experiences. You gave me like a bazillion. You still do to this day, even today and yesterday. But that's what relationships are for. And also, I will say, a lot of people do this healing work, or they dive into healing work individually when they're single on their own, but it's a whole different ballgame when you're in relationship too, because it can activate different parts of
100%.
Right?
So two things I want to say is, you might not find the perfect person, but you must have non-negotiables.
Yeah.
Right? You must know your standard. You must know the baseline of what is your boundary within yourself. So many people are single and they go out and they don't even know who they are. They don't know their non-negotiables. They're like, oh, well, I don't have to find the perfect person. This person's fine, right? You do want a foundation, right? You do want an understanding. So because people take things to extremes, oh, I don't need the perfect person. So I could just be whoever I want to be, or I could just be with whoever I want to be. Nope, that's not really true. Right? Because the foundation of what we're going to talk about in this episode, in this podcast, in this series, and what we do and teach, it has to be trauma informed. It has to be trauma informed. There has to be an understanding of polarity, masculine, feminine mastery. If you could master the masculine and feminine dynamics, what you have is not just safety in a relationship, because if you have safety in a relationship but no polarity, you have a friendship.
Yeah.
But if you have polarity and passion in a relationship but no safety, it's chaos, and it's bound to destroy you, right? You need both. You need a trauma-informed relationship that has the fire and the passion and the connection and the intimacy. So when we talk about depth, we talk about aliveness, and we talk about being real, let's break those things down in a trauma-informed perspective, and let's bring it back to polarity, because the outcome we want for you in this episode is for you to understand what are the three things that create a space for healing in your relationship, and healing within yourself, and healing to not just have an okay or a good enough relationship where, I'll kind of have my walls down and let you in a little bit, but a relationship that feels wildly alive, that feels real, and that feels authentic, where you get to be everything that you're born to be, everything you're meant to be in the relationship, more than you do outside of the relationship. And that's the one place that lights you up the most in life.
Yeah. I love that. And it's true, because safety is so important in so many different ways. And I will also say that when you prioritize, I don't want to say prioritize safety over truth, it can become, especially in the masculine feminine dynamic, it almost becomes like this coddling, people-pleasing type energy, which within polarity, it will totally disconnect you. And so one of the things I love about you, one of my non-negotiables when I was, back in the dating scene was I wanted a truth seeker. And the fact that you prioritize truth over everything it's really sexy. It's really hot that you do that. But it also it gives me that sense of the loving leader, that you're protecting our relationship in that way, that you protect me, and I still feel safe even in that truth.
And let's talk about that. So that's part of being real, right? And so, number one is truth. And I will say this, a lot of people say, I'm just speaking truth. There's always two ways to do it, right? I think there's a fear-based way and a love-based way, right? And I think in our relationship, like sometimes I just want to be like, well, I'm just going to tell you the truth. Terrin asks a really important question. I think you know what I'm talking about. Whenever something is said, what's the intention in which you're saying it, right? In order to be real, you need truth and love. They say that the phrase truth and love will set you free, right? But realistically, if truth without love doesn't set you free, it just makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Or it's distorted. Whereas I think you love the truth that we share because you said at one point you made a decision and you realized that everything I say, you told our little one this the other day, you said one thing you realized about the winter storm was, what was it? What did you say?
That you're seeking to protect.
Yeah, I'm seeking to protect, to uplift, to expand. Like my brain is wired to protect this woman and to love this woman and to lift this woman in all costs and our little ones with everything that I am and everything that I have. And so...
Well, and I'll just add to that really quickly is it wasn't a reframe, but in a way, you know, when we were dating and you know, I come from a background of abuse and I didn't know what true safety was and true protection. And so when Henry would bring his winter storm, which I guess we'll get into that in a second, but meaning more like the fixer of like, I see something that might potentially be dangerous and we got to fix it. And I felt my body contract. I reframed it to not like he's attacking me or anything like that. It was, what is he protecting me from? And that just allowed me to be like, oh, okay, so he's protecting our relationship because he cares so much and he cares so deeply and he loves us so deeply that he's protecting it from what he sees in the future that could potentially happen.
Yeah. And I think when we talk about relationships being real, I think one of the best things that we did in our relationship was we pre-framed. My mentor said pre-framing is better than reframing, meaning if before we get into anything, we decide in advance or I explain it in advance. So instead of just coming in and being like, listen, I got this, and this, which I never really talk like that anyway, but I just am thinking about some relationships where the guy's like, I'm just going to tell you the truth. Or woman's like, I'm going to tell you the truth, you know? I will go up to Terrin and I will say, hey, I love you. We're on the same team. I'm sharing, my intention in sharing this is X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And then therefore I am pre-framing it so she knows, oh, this is safe. Right? Because especially all of us have been hurt in relationship at some point, whether it's relationship with our parents, relationship with someone at school, it's elementary school, our bodies carry all that stuff. Right? And so we want to pre-frame that we're on the same team. It's never about who's right. It's about what's right. That's a huge one. It's never about who's right. It's about what's right. And so Terrin and I will pre-frame. And I'll go up to her and I'll say, hey, before I say this, we're on the same team. I love you. This is my intention in saying this.
Which is so big for me. That's like one of the biggest things.
And at first you'd be like, oh my gosh, you know, what did I do wrong, right? Like, what do you mean?
Well, it's a different energy of if you were to come up and say, hey, we need to talk about this.
Right.
As opposed to, hey, I love you. We're on the same team. Everything's going to be great. Like pre-framing it to me, my nervous system was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And what's crazy is one of the first conversations we had after we got married, I think, our honeymoon, we said, how are we going to fight?
Yeah.
Even though like we didn't really have any ruptures, like big ruptures up to that point. But I said, marriage is a magnifier, right? Marriage magnifies all the good. And I just know that marriage is like a great mirror for us where it's like, okay, I'm going to know all the stuff about Henry and all the stuff about you. And there will be things that we will talk about and there'll be some rupture, but how will we repair? We decided in advance, right? And here's the crazy part. That allows us to be real. If I look at my wife, or if you're dating, or if you're with a partner, I want them to be the most authentic version of themselves because who she is at her core is this beautiful feminine queen that is playful, funny, go-getter, all the things packaged in one, right? And I know she wants me to be authentically who I am because get this is where the trauma-informed perspective comes in. If I look at her and she's not authentically being herself, that means a part of her scared of something.
Yeah.
She doesn't feel safe enough to be who she is. And Dr. Stephen Porges says, safety is the treatment, right? If you want to create a relationship that's healing, you need to build it on a foundation of safety, love, and truth. And that's kind of the thing. And acceptance. I accept you right where you are. And I will love our relationship exactly where we are and love us enough not to keep us there, right? It's expansion, it's growth. And that's leadership in a sense. And I know that we're on the same team. And the pre-frame of us being on the same team, I think is so big.
Yeah. And it's funny, this, like you saying that sparked something for me. And it's something that I even teach with my clients or kind of like a metaphor of how it's who's in the driver's seat. And usually when you start dating someone or whatever relationship, you have a specific part of you, usually driven in fear, who's in the driver's seat. And all of the other parts are like duct taped and, handcuffed in the trunk of the car because you're too scared to reveal them to that person just yet. Where with you, you're smiling, where with you, like I didn't feel like I had to handcuff or duct tape any of those parts to be in the trunk. I allowed all of them to be present with me from the beginning of our relationship, but that was because of the safety that you created, and also the transparency and the trust and all of these things. Like you gave me so many disconfirming experiences. For example, I'll tell you this one. This is a big one. One time my cell phone broke, like it completely died. And Henry was like, babe, it's okay. Here, take my phone. I have my computer. Go to Salt Lake, get your phone fixed. If you need me, just FaceTime me and my computer will answer the call. And I'm like, I have like the Holy Grail. I could like look at anything on this phone if I wanted to. But at that point, he had created so much safety and trust and transparency that I trust this man like to the ends of the earth, no matter what. And I always joke that I only text like 2 of his exes at that point. No, just kidding.
That's why they blocked me.
Yeah,
no, I'm just kidding.
No.
But I think that's it, man. It's just building enough safety to be real. And what's really cool about that is going to the masculine, feminine part of it all is my job as the core masculine in the relationship is to provide safety and structure and all those beautiful things. So if I ever see you and I see that you're tense or I see you're this, I'm like, what's the first question I ask is, are you working?
Yeah.
Because he's working, she's in her masculine. She's getting it done. Cool.
You know, I was like, cool, I'm going to let her do her thing.
But if not, I'm like, something is going on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we've already talked about, which we're going to get into so many cool things. Oh my gosh, about our communication and how we've been able to build this. But just the foundation of creating that safety creates polarity. It lets her allow herself to be open enough so we can go deeper.
Yeah.
Because you cannot have true connection and intimacy without going deep. And if you think about it, intimacy, the message, the me into me I see. Do you feel safe enough to to show you into me? Am I open? And if you think about how life is created, how is life created? Life is created by the masculine giving, the feminine opening up deeply, receiving deeply, and life is made. And that's how life is made in our relationship. And so that's what's beautiful about it. Or if you see me show up and you see me like with my eyes glazed over, you're like, what does that look like? And so to get to the next thing about depth in relationship, how do you get to depth? How do you get deep in relationships and create the depth that creates healing in a relationship?
Yeah. I think with that, I want to ask a question that I have on my phone. So can you think of a moment in our relationship when you felt like it healed something inside of you?
Yeah, 100%. I need to think of the specific moment, but I remember, I remember saying something to you. So I had a relationship in the past where in a really weird way, she said whenever I would go to help somebody, she would be unattracted to me because she liked dark, standoffish, rugged kind of guys. And I was like, and so obviously that didn't work out because I love helping people. She said, whenever you're bright and smiley, it turns me off. I was with her for a while. Long story, different podcast episode. We will get there.
Stay tuned.
But I remember one time, I said, hey, this person really needs us. Let's go. I was just going to do that. And you're like, you smiled and you said, let's go. But self-awareness for me is really big. I felt this tension in my body and I was like, oh no, she's going to like me a lot less. Because I had to diminish myself to be in that relationship. I wasn't really allowing myself to be real or deep. It was like this, let me just dance right here. And whenever I'd go deep, the person wanted to stay there. And I lost a part of myself in that relationship. And I remember one time you're like, yeah. And then you added on to it, like, hey, why don't we do this? I forgot the specific situation, but just the premise of it, I felt my body go, wait, she likes you more when you're like this? She didn't run away? Like she wasn't turned off? And then she complimented me in it. And it was like this weird, in the trauma healing space, they call it a disconfirming experience where you do something and you have a new experience attached to it and your body gets a new experience. It's like, wait, we're safe doing this. I'm even more connected doing this, being myself. It was so healing for me that you loved me in it all. And I think I even said, I was like, that was really weird. Like I thought you were totally going to shut down, but you didn't. But I don't know why you would shut down. But of course, my previous experience is when I am doing this, I get less love.
Yeah.
So weird. What about you?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like how much time do we have?
Is there a specific moment that you could think of that I was to you or our relationship that allowed you to heal a part of you that was really important for you?
I feel like every day one specific, it's similar of like, I can't remember the exact what I was doing, but it was something where I was going to go to something by myself. And whether it be an event or I don't know if it was Hawaii, I can't remember what it was, but it was something that I was going to go to by myself. And in my previous experience in relationship was I couldn't go anywhere by myself. Like it was a sense of control. I had to be tracked. I had to be, I couldn't go to the store without my kid. I couldn't do anything by myself. And I remember being there, and I remember sitting there and I just started like crying these tears of gratitude because I was like, oh my gosh, like not only did you support me, but you encouraged me to go do that. And not just that, but like reach for what I feel God's called me to do. Like you just uplift me in that way. And so like with the Queen Collective, you've never once diminished me. And that's what I was used to in the past. And it's just like, I always say I cry tears of gratitude for this man every single day, and I would cry them every day. And there will probably be lots of tears on this podcast, but I think that's really it of just like, I know that you're so in my corner, like no matter what, all the time, like I know that you will show up, and it's not just by the words that you say, but it's your actions have shown me that you will show up in that way. So
no,
I love you so much.
I love you.
We love love.
Yay, love. I mean, I do. I want you to win. I like, that's what love is. There's a difference. Like, I think the question that we could always come back to is, am I operating in fear or love? And I think it's interesting that we're talking about depth and realness and aliveness, because love uncensored really is an unfiltered love, a love that's without reservation, right? And I think there's so much hurt, you guys. I know if you're listening or watching this, like, I know there's hurt. And I know, like, the reason why we're here, I want you to know, is because both of us have experienced the wrestle, right? We're so excited to share this because not only do we find each other, but we're growing every day, and we see people growing every day when they learn these principles. Like, I had a client this morning that said to me, like, gratefully, was like, we've been working in the relationship stuff, and she was like, dude, my husband messaged me today and told me literally, like, I don't know what happened, but I feel like I will do anything for you. And it's this energy. And she was saying the same thing. And she's like, we were so self-preserving before, but now it's like this energy of freedom. Like, I just want to go. And it's interesting because their intimacy has grown. Their fun stories about all that, because when you feel safe enough, you allow depth. And when you allow depth, and the depth is safe, then you allow a new experience, and those new experiences are healing, right? And sometimes, and I'll just say this because podcast is not just for going from A to Z. Sometimes depth means going from having a wall up to opening it a little bit and just making sure you're feeling safe enough, right? You go to the gym, you don't go from lifting 0 weights to 350 pounds, right? If you're lifting 5, it's okay to go to 7. Right? 7.5. It's okay to go to 10 and not compare yourself to the person that's lifting 50 because you had an injury, right? If you were injured before, if healing comes because a part of you, healing means wholeness. There was a part that was segmented, right? There's a healing, there was a rupture or wound somewhere within you because of a past experience. And so even in our relationship, for example, and I'll share the story, I remember there's still healing going on with us based off of our past situations. I remember one time I grabbed Terrin by the arm, and Terrin was like activated, and I was like, hey, what's going on? Like, she's like, oh my gosh, my ex, used to grab me by my arm really hard, and it was like a sense of control. And I realized that was just a trigger for her. It was an activation for her. And so everything is information. Emotions are messengers. So what does that do for me? She was ruptured in a relationship. That gives me the opportunity to help her heal in this relationship. And I didn't go and be like, well, just get used to it, and I'm just going to walk around and let you know you're loved. It was like, every once in a while, maybe I'll go and I'm like, hey, I love you. And I would just slowly caress it and say, hey, we're going to create safety for you now. This is a new experience for you. Like, you're with me, you're safe. Like, I'm for you 100%. And now it's like, we can just go in and do whatever, and her body knows she's safe.
Yeah. And I think what's really important about that too, is it wasn't you weren't asking me to override and abandon anything that I was feeling. Like, you allowed me to be seen in that depth of like, oh, hey, there's this thing I didn't know was there.
Yeah.
As opposed to me like just, oh no, I'm fine. Like, it's okay. You honored it, you respected it, and you helped me process that to heal it, which when you, as a woman, when you were seen in that like emotional vulnerability, like that's the hottest, sexiest thing. Like that, if you want to talk about like aliveness and like connection, a woman being connected emotionally in that way and having a man that sees her and understands her at that depth is one of the sexiest things that a man can do.
I love that. And in another episode, we talk about the needs of the masculine and feminine. In terms of polarity, when it comes to depth, just to tie in we talked about the healing that comes from it, but there's also an aliveness that comes from it, right? When you feel emotionally safe, you feel open. And when you're open and you realize it's actually like there's momentum going forward, that's when aliveness happens, right? You have a question going because you're looking at your phone. What's your question?
Yeah, I was gonna ask one is, well, because you're talking about aliveness and we see this so much in relationships, is one of the questions was, how do you personally stay alive and open instead of getting stagnant or like that roommate syndrome? Because I think a lot of the time society teaches us that, oh, well, this is just how marriage is, and this is how men are, and this is how women are, and this is the status quo, where we obviously are not like, no, that is not right, because we believe in extraordinary and know what it can be, because that's what we experience literally every day and what that we work towards every single day. So the question was, how do you personally stay alive and open instead of getting stagnant?
I got to say this. It's so funny because this fire just built like inside of me. And I have to say this because for me, if we committed to each other that I just don't want you to have an okay life. I want to light your freaking life on fire. I want you to have the best life. I want you to be lit up. I want you to go pursue what you want to pursue. I want you to feel the safest you've ever felt. I want you to feel the most loved, the most seen, the most heard, the most understood, more than anybody else outside there. That's the goal. That's the point. That's why I'm here. Why did I pick you as my partner if I'm not willing to do that, right? Like, and I need to trust that you're going to do the same for me. And when I step into that for me, if my intention is purely like, hey, I am so for you and I am 100% for you, and it shifts me from this sense of fear where I'm not sitting here trying to preserve myself or preserve this other thing, where a lot of relationships, you'll see this fear cycle where I don't know if I can, because if I give you, then I might not get. And if you give me, I might not get. But the reality is this, is like, I am so for you. I want your life to be lit up. And if it's not lit up at a freaking level million, then what can I do to help that? And I think, and I feel the same with you. It's like, no, I know that if I was like, hey, I got to go do this, you're like, go do it. There has to be a commitment. There has to be a commitment to be alive. There has to be a commitment to say, let me work on my fears. Let me work on my stuff. Emotions are messengers. They're not dictators, right? So if I am scared, if I'm not opening up, if I have these things and we're not feeling alive, there is something that is blocking us, the polarity from feeling alive. Maybe the feminine core is in her masculine, right? Maybe she doesn't feel safe enough to be in her feminine because she has to control things her whole life. Or maybe there was a girl that we were working with and she said, because my dad taught me, no, you always have to fend for yourself. Never let a man do this. Whatever your belief system is, people want passion, aliveness, intimacy, but they're not willing to do the work to get there. But if you're listening to this, you're willing to do the work. I'm just saying in general, like that's what it is. But if we can make a commitment in advance to say, I am so for you. If you don't feel safe in something, I will help you heal that in this relationship. And this is something that's so important. And I'm looking right at the camera because I want to say this, is being committed to understanding your triggers and understanding what helps you in your triggers. Remember this.
Amen.
I'm so passionate. I'm talking to you guys. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to everybody at the same time. But Terrin and I go by this thing that says every form of communication is a cry for help or an act of love. So if Terrin's not in an act of love, she's crying out for help. And so what am I going to do? Am I going to become defensive and now we're both in a fear cycle? No one wins. Someone has to break the cycle, right? But the coolest part about it is if I, as the masculine, decide to step up and say, you know what? I will love you. You can tell me, hey, I'm struggling with this. I need a moment. I need this. And I'm there and I'm immovable and whatever that looks like. I love you no matter what. I may not like what you're doing, but I love you. And I'm here and not going anywhere, and vice versa. There becomes a safety. There becomes a thing. And guess what? She begins to trust the masculine. And when she trusts the masculine and she starts to go there, there's more depth. And when there's more depth, there's more honesty. When there's more honesty, there's more polarity. When there's more polarity, there's more aliveness. When there's more aliveness, there's more depth. It's a cycle, right? It's really a cycle of healing, and we're always going to be healing. We're always going to be growing, right? And so the thing is, when you say, is there a moment that, what keeps us alive? It's the true commitment to wake up every day and literally ask God when I pray, or if you don't believe in God, just connect to whatever you believe or yourself or whatever, but connecting and saying, this person chose me as their partner. Or if you're single, if you're out on a date, they chose to spend that time with you. You show up with your presence, with your love, with your power. Yes, you don't have to go and be like, if you're dating, I'm like, well, I'm going to go all in. But you show up authentically, because when you are who you are in a love-based place, everything that is truly yours will align itself. And no one wins in fear. No one does, unless you really need it. Like, there's two types of fear that keeps you alive and fear that keeps you from living. Most people, sure, like if you're in an abusive relationship, use that fear and get out or fight or do whatever you got to do. Other than that, it doesn't serve anybody. So for us, when I look at it, it's like, I have to ask myself the true question: what does make her alive? What makes me feel alive? Everybody's different. Some people like hiking, right? That's not I'll go. Once I go, I like it, but I've never once suggested it in our relationship. But nature for some people makes them feel alive because they're in this beautiful space, or rock climbing or whatever that is. But I understand there are certain things that make this woman feel alive that I love so much. And my thing is, why not go and find a way to freaking light her up? And so I think, how do we do it? It's a true commitment to that, to asking the question. And I'm going to be honest, you guys. And sometimes you see the men doing this when we're coaching people, and the women just feel like, I can't say thank you, or I can't express admiration, because if I do, then they're going to think, then I'm going to lose this thing.
And I owe them. And
it's like, absolutely not. That's a fear-based thing. So both people need to go inward and say, if I lived in love, if I lived unleashed in this relationship, and if I have any fears, or if they're activated, what work do we need to do in the relationship to where I could understand her triggers? She understands mine. I'm committed to helping her with hers. She's committed to helping me in mine. We get real and as deep as we can, and then we slowly create aliveness. And aliveness comes when there's polarity. And I'll say it again from the beginning. I love this. I read this. I got to find out where I read it. It was quoted. But if you have polarity, which is the masculine and feminine dynamic of like magnetism, of intimacy, without safety, it's chaos and adventure, but it eventually hurts people, right? But if you have safety without polarity, then it's just a friendship. And how many times do you see couples as roommates or as friends without passion, without seeing each other as like, dude, I freaking want you, right? And sometimes it's because someone is feeling self-preserved, or they're too busy in the doing. Everybody's doing in relationship. And if you have two people doing, you have do-dos, right? Then you have masculine energy. And a hunter and a hunter don't get intimate. They're bros, right? And so if Terrin's in a hunter mode and I'm in a hunter mode, then they're bros. And so when we talk about keeping it alive in a way that's healing, what do? I think first and foremost, we can give you strategies, but first you have to commit. Both of you need to commit. Or if you're single, it's a matter of keeping it alive. How do you keep it alive in yourself?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think it's also like, what is the vision of what you want your relationship to be? Because so many people will settle in their vision of like, oh, well, this is what's like realistic. Where what I love, especially with you and what you helped with me, was the vision of everything and the possibilities of everything in my life, because it allowed me to bring my full self, my full authentic self, all parts of myself into our relationship. But the vision that you have for your relationship, what is that? And then literally take that and times it by 10, because that's what it can be. It's not just, if you think of your typical day and getting so detailed about your day and what you would want in your relationship, how do you want your partner to show up for you, taking that and multiply it by 10. But it's also the feeling of like how they make you feel. It's not what they're doing for you. Specifically, like for women, it's not about like what women are doing in a relationship. It's who they are being in a relationship. And we see this all the time as women get caught up, but I did this and I did the dishes and I made the dinner and I cleaned the house and I did all these things, but he's still love, XYZ. And it's because it's not about what she's doing. Is there respect? Is there admiration given? Is there gratitude given? Appreciation for this warrior who is going out into the world to fight the battle and then comes home. And like you said at the beginning of the podcast, so many people specifically men, get more admiration outside of the home than they do within the home.
100%.
And just imagine if the home should be the safe space for both partners, especially for them to re-energize themselves. And that's my goal for you, is I want to be that space that we re-energize together. Like I am the battery that helps you re-energize to go back out and fulfill your mission and purpose in the world. So
100%. And so this is a call to everybody listening. If you are in a relationship and you are masculine core, ask yourself this question: am I showing up with power and presence and love? Do I make her feel seen and safe and understood? Am I the safest place for her? Do I lift her? Do I elevate her? Do I help her see the queen that she is? Because most feminine is so hard on themselves. And especially, look, if you think, well, they're not hard on themselves, they're always yelling at me. You know, most people that are really hypersensitive have walls. And whenever they feel criticized or judged or needing to be fixed, then they're snapping back because they can't take anymore because they're too busy beating themselves up enough.
Yep.
Right? So ask yourself the question, how can I get creative? What do they really need? And if you're the feminine, just freaking, what do you need to do to step into your own strength and your own love and your own healing, to give gratitude and admiration and openness? And if you don't feel safe, if either one of you is listening like, oh no, I would not do that, then you have to have a real honest conversation. Then how you create a relationship that is deep, that is alive, and that is truly real, you got to get that within yourself. You got to get real with yourself. You got to go deep with yourself, and you got to come alive within yourself if you want the relationship to come alive. Yeah. I think that one of the things that I loved about you from the very beginning was, I remember one of our first dates, I said, you were going to come visit me. And I said, listen, I signed up for a trauma healing course, and
I was
you can either do it with me or not, but I'm not saying, no, I'm going to do this, you know? And she's like, no, I'll do it. In my mind, I was like, things are about to get real, really fast. We're either going to be closer or not. And by the end of it, we were closer because we were so honest. We were so for growth. We were truth seeking. And to me, if two people are open and they're genuinely seeking what's true, what's right, not who's right. Yeah. What's right? What's the right thing? What's the love-based way to go? How do we heal these fears? We're in this together. I freaking got you. You chose me, I chose you. Or if you're single, choosing people that are healthy for you, right? Yeah. But if you can choose that and decide that, the whole world changes because you have someone that has your back. The reason why I think we've grown so much is because it's not that we don't have rupture, is that we allow ourselves to be real. And you allow me to say, and you sit there and you hold the thing for me, and you're like, okay, and I allow you to I hold the trash can for you, right? You just say what you want to say. But I know at the end of the day, you're for me and I'm for you. And that's the commitment. And true healing comes when you know, I could take off my armor and I have this scar. And you're not going to come poke my scar, or it's not even a scab, it's a scab or like a wound. You're not going to come poke the wound and just say, well, look, no, you should stop screaming or stop hurting. It's like, you're hurting and you chose me. And I'm either going to choose to come in and help you heal that wound, or I'm going to exacerbate that wound. Is that the word? I don't know if I said that right, but you guys can fact check me or whatever on this thing. you know, so let's be healing spaces for each other. You know, that's a commitment. If you're listening, or, you know, and Terrin and I recommit ourselves to this. Let's be real, as honestly loving as you can. Maybe it is important to have those hard conversations now and not saying you're doing this wrong and I'm doing this wrong. It's like, hey, I want something magical. I want to come alive. I want to be real. I want to be deep with you. I want to love you. I want real love. So maybe it's time to get real. Maybe it's time to allow yourself to get deep within yourself, and it's time to come alive, you know? And so, I guess lastly, what are your final thoughts as we close
I'm
out
just
this
sitting
episode?
here, like, talking about admiration. I am sitting here in that gratitude of like I want to say thank you for being the loving leader in our relationship, to create depth, to create aliveness, and to create a space for me to be real in every aspect of who I am, because I had never experienced that before. So thank you for.
Thank you. I'm so grateful for you. I mean that. And I'll tell you, seeing you in your playful state, feeling safe enough to be playful and fun and working hard and doing whatever you do and to feel what you need to feel. To me, it's like, That's it. You know, like I want a real relationship. I don't want a fake one. I don't want to check the boxes off. I want to freaking live. I want an extraordinary relationship. And the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is just a little extra. That word extra, that's it. And I think if we can all, if I know we commit to that, and I just invite everybody to commit to that. And so if you have any questions about anything we said, or you want to dive deeper, please follow, subscribe, do all the fun things around this, because it's going to get real. It's going to get deep. We're going to have principles. We're going to talk about communication. We're going to talk about intimacy. We're going to talk about, you know, a deeper healing. We're going to talk about just so many layers of all this. But we just want to let you know that there is hope. At one point, Terrin and I, we literally talked about this. It's like, dude, do you remember where we were like 10 years ago? Shoot, like I was hoping, I didn't even know it was possible. And the way the unconscious mind works is it thinks that where you are is where you're always going to be. So if you're in a relationship that's maybe you feel like, man, I want fire, I want passion, I want love, I want safety, I want all these things, it's possible. If you're single and you're like, is it possible? Yes. Stick with it. Don't compromise truth. Don't compromise love. Don't operate by fear, because the frequency in which you operate is the frequency in which you'll attract. So thank you so much. Any final words?
Final words was a little quote/metaphor that I have. And it says, real love isn't a fairy tale. It's a forge. It's not about being perfect for each other. It's about becoming truer with each other. And I think that's really beautiful, because there's nothing more powerful than co-creating a beautiful relationship together. So I love you so much.
Love you. Thank you everybody for watching and listening. Until next time.
See ya.
See ya.